Welcome to Mind Games, Part 1 in Tiki, Leigh's addictive dating games series. A story that blurs the line between passion and fear, trust and doubt. This novella digs deep into the emotional aftermath of love's high-stakes choices, giving voice to the internal battles we all face when it comes to matters of the heart. Set between the steamy sparks and emotional turns of the main series, Mind Games pulls back the curtain on a love story tested by insecurities, secrets, and the haunting pull of past pain. It's not just about romance, it's about learning to listen to yourself, to heal, and to risk everything when love demands more than you're ready to give. If you've ever second-guessed your heart, this is your story. Press play on Mind Games and dive into the love that refuses to let go. Chapter 1. Have you ever wondered what would have happened if Alice never saw the White Rabbit and followed him into Wonderland? If Cinderella never found the courage to walk into that ball all alone and dance with Prince Charming? If Ariel hadn't gone to the surface and saved Prince Eric from drowning? Even though everyone warned her about humans, one moment, one decision, one life forever changed because they opted for one path over another. It's remarkable to think our choices have this much power, this much ability to alter the course our lives had been on. I've often imagined what my life would look like had I chosen differently. Different college, different profession, different love. It's one of those things that keeps us up in the wee hours of the night, contemplating deep thoughts we have no control over, since the likelihood of getting a second chance is doubtful. At least that's what I've always thought. Until a trip to Las Vegas for a bachelorette party brought me back to that proverbial fork in the road, one I didn't know existed. "Are you girls seriously not coming to the club with us tonight?" Bernadette whines over the loud, jarring noise of the busy casino. Her bright red lips form into a pout as she looks at Chloe and me. When she'd first proposed celebrating Hannah's bachelorette party in Vegas, I looked forward to getting out of Manhattan for a weekend in Sin City, especially in January. But after only 24 hours, I longed for the sounds and smells of New York. Now that I've been here going on 4 nights, I'm all but counting down the minutes until I can board that plane. In a little more than 12 hours, I get to do just that. "We have an early flight tomorrow," Chloe responds. Out of the entire bridal party, we're the only two who seem to have commitments and obligations back home. Not only are we leaving a day earlier than everyone else, we're using it as an excuse not to have to suffer through yet another night at yet another club. A darkened room reeking of sweat, alcohol, and perfume. Ridiculously loud music. Barely any space to move or dance. It isn't my idea of a fun evening out. "I thought your flight wasn't until 1 or 2. Bernadette argues back. "We still have to get to the airport on time. We don't have the luxury of sleeping in all day like you do." Bernadette opens her mouth, presumably to continue stating her case, when Hannah steps forward, wrapping her arms around Chloe. "I'm so glad you took the time to come." Pulling back, she gives her a sincere smile before hugging me. "Don't worry, I get it," she whispers. "If I could, I'd be right there with you." She drops her hold on me, and the three of us share a conspiratorial look, like we did as kids when we were up to something. Growing up, we were 3 peas in a pod. We lived in the same neighborhood and were practically inseparable. Hell, I remember many summer days giggling about our dream weddings to our dream guys. Hannah always fantasized about marrying a successful doctor, one who loves kids as much as she does. Now, she's mere weeks away from marrying that successful doctor. "Come on!" She spins from us, looping her arm through Bernadette's. I'm a bit parched. Several of the other bridal party members whistle and cheer as they retreat from the lobby, on their way to one of the many clubs, as they're about to get swallowed up by the hectic casino atmosphere. Hannah glances over her shoulder, blowing both of us a kiss. We return it, as we always do. Chloe and I wait until they disappear from view, then exhale simultaneously. Well, thank God that's over. She starts toward the bank of elevators, her strides purposeful. I swear, if one more guy approaches me thinking I'm a prostitute because my hair's a different shade, I'm going to lose it. I'm not the first person to color my hair gray and lilac, for crying out loud. She gestures to her wavy locks that fall to her mid-back. I must admit, it took me a while to get used to the color, knowing I'd never be so bold as to change my hair to such a unique tone. But that's Chloe, daring and a bit reckless. Plus, her natural shade of blonde makes it easier to do something like that. There's not much I can do with my nearly jet black hair. As far as our appearance goes, Chloe and I are as opposite as can be. She's short and petite, the picture of an all-American girl. Aside from her choice in hair color, I'm on the taller side with curves and olive-toned skin, thanks to my Latina heritage. You know how this place can be. I respond when I catch up to her. It's bachelorette party central. You saw how the girls behaved. They're away from home and responsibility, so they decided to throw common sense out the window and flirt with anything with a pulse. Same goes for the men here for bachelor parties. And, as we all know, men aren't nearly as intelligent as women, so they say and do even dumber things. Her laughter fills the elevator vestibule, overpowering the abrasive noise of the casino. You've got that right. When a car arrives, she slings her arm over my shoulders, which proves slightly difficult due to our height difference, her 5'2" to my 5'7", but we manage. Like always, lobby tomorrow at 11. I arch a brow at Chloe when the elevator stops on my floor. Another reason I get along so well with her. While the rest of the bridal party insisted on cramming 8 people into 2 rooms, we refused to take any part in that. The only thing that made this trip bearable was that I had my own space. Or maybe I should tell you 10:30 so you'll be on time. She playfully jabs me in the side. Don't worry, I'll be there. There's no way in hell I'm missing my flight out of this godforsaken town. Good. Or I'm leaving without you. Because there's no way in hell I'm missing my flight out of this godforsaken town. Good night, Izzy, she sings, pushing me out of the car before the doors close on me. Night, Chloe, I call back as I make my way toward my room. Once inside, I take a minute to relish in the tranquility. My ears still ring from the constant barrage of noise in the casino. But other than a faint conversation I can make out from the room next door as the occupants get ready for a night out, it's peaceful. The whirring of the air conditioner, the only sound. An urgent need to wash off the remnants of tonight's festivities, namely the showgirl lessons that came complete with full makeup, overtakes me, and I head for the bathroom, starting the shower. A few minutes later, after scrubbing my face rigorously, I feel like myself again. Not this dress-wearing, club-going girl I've been the past few days, so Hannah could have the bachelorette party she deserved. Though I suspect this was more the type of bachelorette party Bernadette, her older sister, would want. Hannah would have preferred a quiet weekend in wine country. Hell, knowing Hannah, she would have preferred a weekend where we all volunteered at the inner-city schools. Emerging from the bathroom, I glance at the clock to see it's just after 11. I should pack and get some sleep. But I'm not even close to being tired. As a nurse, I typically work the night shift. After staying out until the early hours of the morning all weekend, my body has remained on that schedule. So, instead of throwing on some pajamas, I slide on a pair of jeans and a black top, then leave my room to explore the Vegas nightlife on my own, and hopefully find a low-key bar. After a weekend of nothing but overpriced, pretentious clubs, I need a simple bar and a good beer. Most other women my age probably wouldn't want to venture off on their own at night in Vegas. But I'm not most women. I like being alone. Like being able to do what I want when I want. Like not having to depend on anyone else for my own happiness. That's the benefit of being an only child. An adopted only child. I became fiercely independent at an early age. I meander along the casino floor, the tables overflowing with people trying their hand at blackjack, poker, or roulette, probably gambling away their life savings in the hopes of winning big. Cocktail waitresses in skin-tight dresses that barely cover their ass carry trays holding drinks. Despite having one of the top air filtration systems available, a thin layer of smoke seems to fill the space, the stench of nicotine permanently ingrained in my nostrils. It's going to take days to get the stink out of my hair once I get home, as I wander in search of a place where I can grab a decent beer. The sound of live music cuts through. A nice change from the typical thump of club music they blare all hours of the day. I look in its direction, spying what appears to be an Irish pub. I grin at the familiarity. My mother would admonish me for going to an Irish pub while in Vegas, Considering I live in New York and we can't trip without falling on yet another pub just like this one, that's probably what calls me to this place. It reminds me of home. I step inside, everything about my surroundings seeming to go against what Vegas stands for. Yes, it's still a bar and the music is loud, but it's not ostentatious. Not filled with women wearing as little clothing as they can get away with on the prowl for some poor schmuck to buy them overpriced drinks for the night. Not crawling with men dressed in suits who bathed in far too much cologne. I walk toward a long bar that sits along the wall and find a vacant stool. My eyes are drawn to the ceiling, hundreds of bills of every currency pinned to it. A bartender approaches and takes my order for a beer, returning with a pint within seconds. I take a sip of the hoppy ale, exhaling at the flavor that seems so foreign after the past few nights of only consuming mixed, saccharine drinks. This is exactly what I need to feel normal again. I survey the darkened space. Nothing flashy or unique about it. Just like every other bar I've been to in my adult life. The lounge is filled with heavy wood tables, patrons enjoying a variety of beers and bar food while they listen to live music. A large crowd fills the empty area in front of the stage, dancing to the band as they cover a Coldplay song. They're pretty good. Much better than some of the artists I hear on the radio these days. I'll take rock music any day over the latest auto-tuned boy band who wouldn't know how to hold a guitar if their life depended on it. The song ends and applause breaks out, a few girls cheering and clapping enthusiastically. Déjà vu washes over me, like I've been here before. In a way, I have. I was once one of those exuberant fans cheering for the local band, hoping they'd someday make it big. But that was a lifetime ago. Shaking off the memories, I turn my attention back to my beer, perusing the menu the bartender left for me. Thanks all. The lead singer's voice carries over the loud chatter and clanging of ice against glass. We're going to take a quick break, but before we do, we have a special guest who's agreed to get up on stage with us tonight. Remember this name because in the next few months, you won't be able to turn on your radios without hearing his music. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Asher York. A gasp escapes. My eyes darting toward the stage. I freeze. My brain unable to tell my lungs to breathe, my heart to beat, my body to move. All I hear is that name. It can't be him. Can it? How I've never been great at statistics. But the likelihood of the two of us being in the same bar in Las Vegas has to be... what, 1 in a million, a billion? It must be someone else with the same name. Someone else who's also a musician. Someone else who's 6'2", with dark hair and a smile that can melt panties. I tell myself I'm imagining it. That I'm still stuck in the memories of my college days when my friends and I would go to whatever club Asher's band was playing and dance the night away. That must be it. The reality of being in the same room as him seems so far out of the realm of possibilities, especially considering the last I knew. He was a music teacher in the suburbs of Boston, playing the occasional gig on the weekends. Then again, the last time I spoke to him was 8 years ago. A lot can change in that amount of time. And when a figure jumps onto the stage and faces the crowd, I realize truer words have never been spoken or thought. A lot can change in that amount of time. And Asher York has certainly changed. I watch with a mixture of intrigue and surprise as he grabs an acoustic electric guitar from a stand, plugging a cable into the end of the body. The man resembles the Asher York I once knew, but he's a far cry from the lanky man I remember. His broad chest pulls at the simple gray t-shirt, his biceps filling the sleeves quite nicely. His dark hair is no longer perfectly groomed. It's grown out and has a sexy, disheveled vibe, the perfect complement to the scruff along his jaw. But that's not the biggest change. Oh no, as if he weren't rock god personified with the longer hair and muscular physique. He has to add tattoos to the fantasy. I've always found Asher York attractive. But now, he is all man, manly man. And when his voice fills the bar, sending an involuntary shiver down my spine, it's somehow deeper and more enthralling than I remember. And I definitely remember him. Asher York isn't the kind of person anyone could forget. I should leave, pay for my beer, head back to my room. The last thing I need is to reopen old wounds. And seeing Asher does just that. But like the first time my college roommate dragged me to a club to see a local band that was gaining in popularity, I'm drawn to the man's rough, emotion-filled voice. I stare at my beer, concentrating on the melody. It sounds familiar, like a cloudy memory trying to return to the surface of my subconscious. The longer I listen, the more clear it becomes. By the time he sings the first chorus, it hits me. It's the same melody I'd heard him toil over endlessly during those late summer nights we stayed up together at his grandmother's lake house, while my boyfriend, then fiancé, slept inside, who also happened to be Asher's brother. During the 2 years I dated Jesse, I was welcomed into his family with open arms. That included spending a few weeks of the summer at the lake house. It was actually one of the things I missed most when we broke up. The card games, the smell of burgers on the grill, spending the early morning hours listening to Asher pluck away at his guitar as he attempted to piece together a song. This song, allowing my hair to cascade in front of my face in the hopes that Asher doesn't recognize me in the crowd. I risk a glance at him. He seems to have cast a spell on everyone here, just as he did all those years ago. People bob their heads in time with the song, one I've heard more times than I care to admit. The familiar chords akin to coming home after a long absence. I'm transfixed as I listen to him sing about feeling like he was made for a particular woman. But she never saw him until it was too late. I don't realize my eyes are glued to his every move until deafening applause thunders around me. The girls who preened before the lead singer of the other band mere minutes ago now fawn over Asher. He smiles that breathtaking smile of his as he thanks the audience, still as enigmatic a presence as always. His gaze floats over the crowd, coming to an abrupt stop when he locks eyes with mine. I try to look away, but the simple act of our gazes meeting has turned me to stone. Apart from the fluttering in my chest, it shouldn't. I shouldn't have any reaction to him, just like I shouldn't have tried to kiss him mere hours after I ended things with his brother all those years ago. Snapping out of my stupor, I refocus my attention on my beer and drain it. I grab a bill from my wallet and leave it on the counter, not caring about getting any change. The excessive tip is a price I'm willing to pay to avoid having to talk to Asher. Considering the last time I saw him, I pretended to have no memory of the previous night and our almost kiss. I'm about to jump down from the stool when a hand on the bar next to me stops me, running off without saying hi. My eyes dart up, coming face to face with Asher York. His voice is even smoother than I remember. A low rumble that hits places on my body that haven't felt excitement in an eternity. I part my lips, attempting to come up with a response, but I'm rendered speechless when I catch a glimpse of his arm leaning on the bar, the position causing his biceps to flex and push against the confines of his t-shirt, stretching the fabric. A woodsy scent surrounds me as I stare, the smell reminding me of large family dinners, playing guitar on the dock overlooking the lake on his grandmother's property, roasting marshmallows. Reminds me of a girl I used to be, one I've tried to keep in the past, swallowing down the bittersweet memories. I push a strand of hair behind my ear, forcing a smile. Asher, good to see you. I hold my head high, looking anywhere but directly into his eyes. I can't. He has the same eyes as Jesse, born 11 months apart. Their appearance was always strikingly similar. But that was where their similarities ended. The two brothers as opposite as two people can be. Regardless, I've never met two siblings as close as they are. Or maybe I found it so foreign since I'm an only child. Phew. He blows out a breath, laughing shakily. I wasn't positive it was you. I thought it was. But everyone in this town seems to look like someone else. I shrug, finally meeting his gaze. It's me. Good. That would have been awkward otherwise. A flirtatious smile curves up the corners of his lips. He even has the same smile as Jesse. But Asher's looks more natural, like he's actually happy. What are you doing in Vegas? He continues when I don't immediately say anything. I could ask you the same question. He nods at the stage. Music. He doesn't embellish. Your turn. Bachelorette party. Hannah's getting married next month, and Bernadette was in charge of planning her bachelorette party. A look of understanding crosses his face. Say no more. As uneasy as it should be to see Asher again, considering his connection to a time in my life I'd prefer to keep in my rearview mirror. It's refreshing to talk to someone who already knows me, scars and all. Someone I don't have to go into all the details of my life with because they already know. Cash you out, miss, the bartender's voice cuts through. I nod. Thank you. Actually, Asher interrupts before the bartender can retreat with my money. She'll have another, and I'll have an IPA. He places a finger on the cash I'd left on the bar and slides it back in front of me. Put all her drinks on my tab. That's not necessary. I insist, attempting to push the bill back toward the bartender. I really should be going. It's been a long night and the heat coming off him as his hand wraps around my arm stops me mid-sentence. I fling my wide eyes to his, my insides vibrating at his touch. Something that never happened when his brother touched me, caressed me, made love to me. That should have been a sign back then, but I was too young to realize it, too smitten by the handsome college senior who noticed me. Or maybe I just didn't care. Maybe I'd wanted to feel like I was wanted, like I was cherished. Stay. One word, and my mouth goes dry. One word, and my heart pounds in my chest. One word, and I forget all the reasons I should leave. Okay, I slowly slink back into my bar stool. What harm can one drink with an old friend do? Chapter 2. So you quit without a backup plan? I ask several hours later as Asher and I sip on our beers, the bartender having just announced last call. I'd told myself I'd only stay for one drink. One drink soon turned into 3 as I caught him up on everything that's been going on in my life. How I ended up getting my master's. Something I never would have done if I'd married Jesse. Hell, before I broke off our engagement. I probably would have been happy working at a general practitioner's office where the hours were normal and the stress level low. But something about the breakup made me reevaluate my plans and think about what I really wanted. So I continued with my education, focusing on pediatric oncology. The hours are less than optimal. The mental strain of holding these precious young lives in my hands high, not to mention the heartbreak when I lose a patient. But I can't imagine doing anything else. If I wanted to pursue my dreams, I didn't want anything holding me back. My teaching job was a crutch. I turned down gigs because I couldn't take time off from work. Good gigs, too. A few opening up for Dave Matthews Band, Ed Sheeran, Jason Mraz. Granted, I would have been the first opener when everyone was waiting in line for beer. But it was still a great gig I had to miss because it was during the week, and my headache of a principal refused to sign off on the time. Thought it was a waste. So about 4 years ago, when I needed to either start my master's so I could keep teaching or do something else, I decided to take the leap and do something else. I drain the remainder of my drink, then sip on some water. That takes some serious cojones. I don't know many people who would quit their job and move to Los Angeles to chase their dreams. What can I say? I'm not most people. He playfully nudges me. You should realize that by now. I certainly do. There's a warmth within his gaze when I lift my eyes to meet his. But there's something more, too. Something that's been missing from my life all these years. I clear my throat, breaking through the mounting tension I'm convinced is one-sided. Weren't you scared? I was. He looks forward, staring into the distance, squinting. But I was more scared of never pursuing my dreams, of being content with a life that was just good enough. Don't get me wrong, he adds quickly. I loved my job, loved teaching kids about music and seeing the joy on their faces when they nailed that difficult passage for the first time. But I always looked at teaching as something I could do to pay the bills while I pursued my dreams. So when teaching got in the way of those dreams, I knew what I had to do. I smile a genuine smile, one that reaches my eyes and warms my heart. That's incredible and inspiring. It hasn't all been easy. Sure, they call Los Angeles the city of dreams. He shakes his head, sipping on his beer. Believe me, it's not. But you made it work. The corners of his mouth quirk up. The lights snap on. The universal sign of the bartender saying, "You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here." I check my watch, surprised to see it's practically 2, and that we've been talking for nearly 3 hours. I can't remember the last time I've been so immersed in another person that I lost all concept of time. It was probably at the lake house when Asher and I would end up staying awake all night without either of us realizing it. Too lost in the music he strummed. "I guess that's our cue to leave," he remarks, finishing his beer. "I suppose it is." I slide off my bar stool, but my heel catches on a leg, propelling me forward. Asher reacts quickly, wrapping an arm around my waist and pulling me upright, directly into his body. His warm, firm body. Every inch of me instantly buzzes to life as a thrilling sensation washes over me, leaving me nearly breathless. This isn't the first time Asher's held me. Hell, it's not the first time he's broken my fall, preventing me from making a complete fool out of myself. But it's never felt like this. Like my insides are ready to ignite from the electricity coursing through me. I tilt my head back and peer into his eyes that glisten under the bright lights of the bar. His chest expands a little more with every inhale. The motion is subtle, but I notice it, just like I notice the swipe of his tongue along his bottom lip, moistening them, the slight flaring of his nostrils, the awe and curiosity in his stare. Does he feel this, too? "You okay?" Eyes the shade of whiskey skate over my frame before returning to mine. He makes no immediate move to drop his hold on me. In fact, he seems to draw me even closer, his fingers thrumming against the exposed flesh between my jeans and top, his touch a ray of sun on that first spring-like day. So unexpected, so surprising, yet still very welcome. "Izzy," he presses when I don't immediately respond. Lost in the tremors, the mere sensation of his arms wrapped around me kindles. His voice pulls me back to the present, reminding me who I am, who he is. Just like he reminded me all those years ago, I push out of his embrace, increasing the distance. Those beers must have caught up to me. I should have eaten something. I smooth my hands over my shirt, pulling it down so no more skin shows around my waistband. Fidgeting with the hem, I rock on my heels, the way he's staring at me unnerving, like he can read my thoughts and is about to recite a list of reasons we can never be together. I am more than aware of those reasons. I don't need a recap of them. Well, I scramble to push past him. "It was good seeing you. Thanks for the beers." I hold my breath as I make my escape. About to ring the victory bell when I hear his voice call out, "Want to grab a bite to eat?" I come to an abrupt stop, blinking. I slowly glance over my shoulder. What was that? He averts his gaze, scraping a hand through his hair. Asher's never been the nervous type. More brooding, mysterious, aloof. I'd lost count of the number of girls I'd witnessed fawning over him whenever his band had a gig, but he never seemed to notice them. "Sorry, I don't know what I was thinking. I just enjoyed spending time with you again and wasn't ready to say goodbye yet. But you're right. You probably should." "Yes," I interrupt before he can finish his statement. His brows furrow. "Excuse me?" I fully face him. "Yes, I'd like to grab a bite to eat. With you. Are you sure you're not too tired?" I pass him a sardonic look. "Were you not paying attention to a single word I said tonight? I'm a nurse. My body's used to staying up late." A dazzling smile flashes across his features. "So you're still a night owl? Even all these years later?" I shrug, guilty as charged. "Well then, approaching." He extends his arm toward the exit. "Shall we?" "We shall." I make my way onto the casino floor, which is even busier than it was earlier. It doesn't seem to faze these people that it's after 2 in the morning. They're still slamming back drinks, which causes them to be more reckless with their money. I've never been a gambler. Hell, I don't think I've so much as put a single bill into a slot machine the entire time I've been here. Living in Manhattan with the high rent doesn't give me much wiggle room to throw away money on frivolities. I allow Asher to take the lead through the casino, but make sure to keep some space between us. Regardless, there's still a buzz in the air. As we pass a group of men in their 20s dressed in dark shirts and jeans, their hair slicked back, their musky cologne overpowering, a few of them eye me up and down, lasciviously licking their lips. Asher steps closer and rests his hand on my lower back, his protective nature flaring. "You really should be careful walking around this place at night, especially alone." He narrows his disapproving gaze on me, which is riddled with concern. I can take care of myself. I roll my eyes. And for the record, I walk around Manhattan at night all the time. I'm more than aware you can take care of yourself. If I remember correctly, there was an incident at one of the festivals our band played where you managed to bring some schmuck who attempted to hit on you to his knees. It was the highlight of the gig. I laugh, surprised at his memory of one particular performance when he's played hundreds, maybe even thousands. Then again, he is an artist. He crafts beautiful melodies with heartfelt lyrics. He probably remembers everything about everyone, pulling inspiration from everywhere he can. You still remember that? How could I forget? It was all anyone talked about for weeks. About how tiny Isabella Nolan took down the star quarterback. What can I say? My father refused to send me away to college unless I took self-defense classes. When that prick wouldn't take no for an answer and tried to make a move on me, I knew exactly how to send him to his knees. There's nothing as effective as an open palm to the nose and a knee in the groin to knock out your opponent. I playfully waggle my brows, following him outside to the valet stand, where he hands a ticket to an attendant. The instant I step into the chilly night air, a shiver rolls through me. I rub my arms. While the temperature has been above average for January, according to several of the locals I've spoken to, nighttime is still on the cooler side. When I dressed earlier, I hadn't expected to go outside. I didn't expect to run into Asher York, either. Yet here I am. Take this. He shrugs out of his leather jacket and places it over my shoulders, leaving himself in just a t-shirt. A few women in tight dresses whistle as they walk past, ogling him. I'd like to say seeing his muscular arms doesn't have the same effect on me, but it would be a lie. His physique is one you can't help but admire. Not too bulky, yet not just skin and bones, either. His arms are ones you crave to have wrapped around you. Arms you hurry home to after a long day. Arms you subconsciously seek out in the middle of the night as you sleep peacefully. Thanks, I say in a small voice, tugging his jacket closer, savoring the warmth. I inhale deeply, the material smelling like Asher, a woodsy, citrus scent. It's refreshing to know some things never change. Only out in the desert does it go from 80 degrees during the day to the 40s and 50s at night. He looks up to the sky, the stars barely visible against the bright lights of Vegas. On a long exhale, he returns his eyes to mine, but it beats all the snowstorms back east. You've got that right. The last few winters have been rough. I've lost count of the number of times I slept at the hospital so I wouldn't miss my shift, or so I wouldn't have to try to find my way home in the middle of a blizzard. It's been that bad. I nod. We've had some big storms that dropped upwards of a foot, sometimes more. If it's only a few inches, it's not that bad. But when we get that much snow, the city has trouble keeping up with shoveling and plowing, especially where I live. And where's that? Tribeca. I know where it is. Jesse? He stops short, wide eyes flinging to mine. It's the first time either of us have brought him up. Our very own elephant in the room. I've thought of Jesse throughout the night. How could I not when spending time with Asher? But now that his name is out there, an awkward tension has made itself known, coiling around and squeezing the life out of what, mere minutes ago, was a fun, light-hearted evening. He stammers, trying to recover, apprehensive about Jesse's presence between us. I played a few gigs in the city before I moved out west. A small ball of guilt lodges in my stomach. We've both moved on, both dated other people, but those other people weren't his older brother, his own flesh and blood. Granted, Asher and I aren't dating, nor will we ever. But I know how Jesse is. He'll grow suspicious if he learns Asher was with me, even if merely as a friend. Just like I know Asher's struggling with his own thoughts of betrayal. Here we are, Asher announces, his voice brightening, perhaps out of relief. I look up to see a classic red Mustang convertible rounding the corner. Is that yours? I blink repeatedly, gaping at the stunning vehicle rumbling our way, the beautiful purr of the engine like a siren's call. And if it is, that car is... I shake my head. Wow, My dad would lose his shit if he learned you were driving one. And by lose his shit, I mean he'd try to con you out of it. It's, what, a 65? 64? Damn. My dad would definitely try to con you out of it. I follow him toward the passenger side, my eyes soaking in the beauty before me. And I'm not the only one. Every male within the vicinity has stopped, their attention drawn to the sleek lines of the car instead of their dates. It's not something you see every day. He always did have a thing for old cars, didn't he? Asher holds my elbow, helping me into the passenger seat before making his way around to the driver's side. Want me to put the top up? I'll be fine. I should take advantage of the fresh air while I can, even if it is a little chilly. He slides into his seat with ease, pressing his foot against the clutch before shifting into first. I tug his jacket tighter around my body, the wind cutting against my face, but I wouldn't trade this moment for anything. Hair whipping in front of me, the Vegas lights blinking all around me, and Asher York sitting beside me. It's a completely unexpected turn of events. Then again, the best things in life often are. Are you sure you're okay? Asher shouts over the noise of the wind and engine as he merges onto the interstate. I can pull over and put up the top. I'm fine, I yell back. But I thought we were going to get something to eat. We are. He flashes me a devious grin before returning his attention to the road, where the strip is. Do you think all this town has to offer is located on Las Vegas Boulevard? I shrug. Pretty much. Trust me, there are a few hidden gems. Is that where you're taking me, to a hidden gem? Absolutely, a hidden gem for a hidden gem. Chapter 3. They have red velvet pancakes. Excitement oozes from my voice as I scan the menu that seems to have everything someone looking for a post-bar snack could ask for. I've been to my fair share of late-night diners. This place is like a late-night diner on steroids. Red velvet pancakes, amaretto French toast. Hell, if you wanted to go big, you could get a filet mignon. Even the ambiance is a far cry from the grungy diners I'm used to. It's more reminiscent of a trendy supper club from back in the day. In fact, it probably was. Booths line the walls, white cloth-covered tables filling the rest of the open space. The lighting is on the dark side, all the windows tinted, presumably to make everyone forget that dawn is slowly approaching. As would be expected in this town, the bar serves alcohol 24/7. Viva Las Vegas! And they are delicious, Asher comments. In fact, you can't go wrong here. Everything they serve is incredible. So you come here often, I ask in a fake seductive voice. Grateful we're back to the way things have always been with us. Light, fun, easy, no more talking about Jesse. Actually, I do. His response piques my interest. Do you play a lot of gigs out here? You could say that. He answers after a moment of contemplation. How long of a drive is it from LA? He brushes his thumb along his chin, looking into the distance before shifting his eyes back to mine. About 4 hours, depending on traffic, kind of like living in the tri-state area. It's even worse in LA, at least in New York. The public transportation system is great. You could just hop on Metro North, which is what I do, since it only takes, an hour. No such luck in LA. If you want to get anywhere in the area, you're stuck driving. There's no subway system at all. There's the metro, but it's not convenient and doesn't go everywhere most people need it to. It's nowhere near as convenient and widespread as the subway in New York, or the T up in Boston. A hint of his accent slips in when his mouth caresses the name of the city he once called home. It was never overpowering or annoying, as was the case with some of the guys I met when I moved to Boston for college. It's subtle, an acknowledgement of his roots, one I hope he never loses. Well, I lean back into the booth. At least you have an incredible car to be stuck in traffic in. I can't complain about that. Actually, Here are your drinks, our petite blonde waitress interrupts, placing a Bloody Mary in front of me and a coffee in front of Asher. I felt a little guilty ordering an alcoholic drink, since he's not drinking, but I needed something to take the edge off after the way my body reacted to his arms around me. And the Bloody Marys coming out of the bar looked too good to pass up. Shrimp, bacon, blue cheese stuffed olives. It's a drink that was made for me. Are you ready to place your orders? I am, Asher replies confidently, without even opening the menu to peruse the options. Then he looks at me. Do you know what you'd like? I close my menu, holding it toward our waitress. I can't resist. Red velvet pancakes, Good choice, she assures me before shifting her attention to Asher. And for you? She bats her lashes, her smile turning from polite to coquettish when she steals a glance at his tattoo-covered arms. I never thought I'd be the type of girl who'd be interested in a guy with tattoos. I certainly shouldn't be interested in this one. But I can't dismiss the pang of jealousy rolling through me at the thought of this stranger ogling Asher. I try to tell myself it's because he's a friend, that I want what's best for him and this woman isn't it. But that didn't cause me to be jealous of anyone Asher dated while I was with Jessie. I'd even attempted to set him up with one of the girls in my dorm, thinking they'd be perfect for each other. She was a music major with a voice that was a combination of Adele and PNK. I had listened to her go on about how great of a kisser he was, how much she loved his body. Not one flare of jealousy. But now, the mere idea of someone flirting with Asher has me glowering, judging everything about this complete stranger when I normally don't judge anyone. He orders steak and eggs, which includes a filet mignon instead of a skirt steak, as is the case at most diners. The waitress lingers a few extra seconds, smiling coyly at Asher. Then she spins from us, and I can't help but think she's swaying her hips a little more than necessary. She wants you. I observe once she's a safe distance away. I take a much-needed sip of my Bloody Mary, which is as delicious as it looks. No, she doesn't. He pours a bit of milk into his coffee, skipping the sweetener altogether. Just like I remember. It's comforting to know some things haven't changed. She was just being friendly, probably hoping for a good tip. Right, I say in a drawn-out voice, rolling my eyes. Speaking of things that never change, it didn't matter how blatant the girls who fawned all over him were. He always brushed them off. He dated, but he never seemed to have the same passion about any of them as he did his music. Your girlfriend must hate going to your gigs, knowing the women in the audience will drool all over you. I swipe the condensation off the side of my glass. He rests his forearms on the table between us, leaning toward me. His eyes darken, almost leering. The light, carefree atmosphere we've enjoyed since we arrived here vanishes. My gaze locks with his, meeting that same wanton stare he'd regarded me with as he held me in his arms. But this time it's even more pronounced, more shameless, more devious. What makes you say that, he asks in a low tone, swiping his tongue along his bottom lip. My core clenches, blood rushing to my cheeks. This reaction is so wrong, on so many levels. But there's no denying the hunger bubbling within me, the electricity sparking in the air between us. As much as I want to blame it on the lack of male companionship over the past few months, I can't. I know the truth. That my body has always acted this way around Asher. I just didn't want to acknowledge it for what it was, what it still is. A connection even the passing of years couldn't fracture. In fact, it's only made it stronger. I stammer, fumbling for a response that doesn't give away how out of sorts I am. Oh, come now. I've never known you to be tongue-tied. Isabella, he remarks smoothly. A different side of Asher. Tell me. His voice turns gruff, causing the hairs on my nape to stand on end. My heart rate increases. My head becomes foggy. The background noise fades away, like this is a dream. Maybe it is. Maybe I fell asleep after showering, and Asher York manifested in my dreams for some reason. Just like Ebenezer Scrooge was convinced his manifestation of Jacob Marley was due to something he ate. Perhaps this fantasy of spending a night in Vegas with Asher York is the result of too much liquor and not enough food. Why do you think our waitress wants me, he presses, his eyes focusing more intently on me. I consider a viable response. I could list the obvious signs that would cause even a blind person to realize they're getting hit on. Instead, I test my limits. If this is a manifestation, a dream, what do I have to lose? Because if our situation were reversed, I'd act the same way. I admit, the words leaving me before I have a chance to evaluate the potential ramifications of being so truthful. My statement rings around us as I stare, seconds ticking by in a savage march. I feel like a contestant on one of those talent shows waiting to hear whether they'll continue on to the following week or be sent home. Their dreams of stardom dashed, That's the power Asher holds over me at this very moment. Hope seems to build in his gaze, his eye contact strong, his lips parting slightly. He leans closer, the corners of his mouth quirking up, as if struggling to reel it in but can't. As if he's waited years for me to say something like this. Then, just as quickly as his bright expression appears, it fades, gaze distant and even, as stoic as a soldier. Thankfully, that's not an issue. You're right. I swallow down the pain of disappointment rising through my body, forcing the most fabricated smile of my life. If Asher can tell it's fake, he doesn't bring it up. It's not. With a shaky hand, I grab my Bloody Mary, taking a long sip. The spicy drink tingles as it hits my tongue and throat, but I've had spicier food. Hell, my mother jokes she pureed jalapenos and spoon-fed them to me as a baby to toughen me up. Not that. When he grabs my free hand, I fling my eyes to his, loosening the desperate grip my lips have on my straw. I remain silent, awaiting further explanation. I'm talking about my girlfriend coming to one of my gigs. That's not an issue. I perk up. Oh, a sexy smirk draws on his full mouth and he releases his hold on me, angling away. No girlfriend. I nod, pretending the information is inconsequential. Inwardly, my libido does a little victory dance. I attempt to settle her down, tell her this doesn't change anything, but the sex-starved nymph refuses to listen. And your boyfriend wouldn't like it if he learned you were here with me at... Oh, he looks at his watch, 3 a.m. That's not an issue either. He raises a single brow. Oh, no boyfriend. He makes a subtle gesture of acknowledgement by pursing his lips. Otherwise, his expression is unreadable. I peer into his dark orbs, searching for any sort of positive reaction to this news. But there's nothing. My not having a boyfriend seemingly as mundane a detail as how I take my coffee. So, I tear my eyes away before I do or say something else I'll regret. Something else to make this awkward. How's Grams doing? That's all it takes for a brilliant smile to light up his face. As I knew it would, I always admired the bond Asher had with his grandmother. Still as headstrong and crazy as ever. A deep chuckle vibrates through his chest, natural and unforced. She recently took up kickboxing, a fact I have first-hand knowledge of after witnessing it this past Christmas. You were in Florida, I ask, recalling how his parents typically spent the colder months down south. His father's job as a financial planner allowed him to work from wherever he was, and spending November through April in the South allowed him to have clients in multiple parts of the country. Boston, he corrects. Since Grams is getting older, Mom and Dad have been staying up north. Of course, she tries to insist she's fine. That age is only a number, and she has no intention of dying anytime soon. That sounds like something Grams would say. Regret squeezes at my heart, the heaviness settling deep in my chest. Despite everything that transpired between Jesse and myself, I should have made more of an effort to stay in touch with Grams. She'd reached out to me in the months following the breakup, but I'd made my decision. The only way to repair the splintered fragments of my heart was to walk away from the entire family. It hurt too much otherwise, which is why I should have walked out of that bar tonight when I had the chance. I fear it will take another 8 years to repair my heart again. So, kickboxing I press, swallowing back the memories. Right? He brightens his sympathetic gaze. I'd been home for no more than 5 minutes when Grams walked in wearing workout clothes, and not like old granny workout clothes. Oh God. I cover my mouth with my hand. Was she wearing spandex? He rubs his eyes. I still have the image ingrained in my memory. I mean, she's in great shape for being nearly 90. But still, after a while, gravity does its thing. Grams has never been one who cares what people think of her. Though, anyway, I'd barely had time to unpack when she came barreling in and said she was dragging me to her kickboxing class. Claimed she'd been telling all the people in her class about my music, that they were all dying to meet me. I thought about blowing her off, but she's getting older, so I indulged her. I figured we were going to the Y or the senior center. You can imagine my surprise when she directed me to the parking lot of some industrial building. It was an actual MMA gym. I burst out laughing. As ridiculous as the picture he's painted sounds, it's entirely believable. Grams never adhered to society's expectations, and she certainly wouldn't let her age get in the way of doing something she wanted. What did you do, I ask, wiping the corners of my eyes. What could I do? I'd be lying if I said I wasn't curious about the entire scenario. So I went in with her, prepared to defend her against any asshole who tried to tell her she should go somewhere else. But the second she walked through those doors, everyone welcomed her. Hell, Grams even got into all the locker room talk, too. I will admit, she's got one hell of a round kick. He winces. I found that out the hard way. How's that? Let's just say I got a little too close, and her leg hit me with such force that an ice pack was attached to my balls for the next 24 hours. My laughter echoes in the restaurant, nostalgia filling me. Of all the people I lost when Jesse and I broke up, Grams was the hardest, more so than Jesse, or even Asher. She had this spirit, this vitality I felt drawn to the second I met her, like she was a kindred spirit, like she knew me and I her, even though she was a stranger to me at that point. Knowing Grams, she intentionally did that to prove she could take care of herself. He lifts his coffee to his lips with a wink. You're probably right. Here you go. Our waitress approaches, carrying 2 plates, red velvet pancakes. She sets the dish in front of me before turning toward Asher, her smile shifting from cordial to much more flirtatious. And your steak and eggs. Her voice grows seductive as she places it in front of him, pushing her arms together to make her cleavage pop. I take this opportunity to study her. Her appearance is similar to every other woman out here who's trying to catch their big break in modeling. Waif-thin, blonde hair that's most likely not her natural color, overdone makeup. Nothing about her stands out as remarkable. I'm not saying I'm supermodel material, but I hate the idea of Asher and this cookie-cutter blonde being together, as unlikely as that is. Or maybe it's the idea they can be together that irritates me. That she can flirt with him, and he her, with no consequences. Thank you. This looks delicious. Is there anything else I can get you? Her voice becomes increasingly breathy. Ketchup Tabasco. More coffee. Or maybe something else. Asher waggles his brows at me before returning his attention to waitress Barbie. I believe I have everything I need right here, eyes connecting with mine. He reaches across the table, grabbing my hand in his, gently brushing his thumb across my knuckles. The subtle sensation causes me to inhale a sharp breath. I don't move, don't blink. It's not the first time I've felt his hand on me. But this seems so much more charged than any of the other times he's touched me. Then again, that was before. When I was blind to everything and everyone other than Jesse York. Oh. Waitress Barbie straightens, her expression falling. But Asher doesn't seem to notice. If he does, he doesn't care. His stare still trained on me in a way that makes me think he's peeling back layer after layer, exposing every single one of my vulnerabilities. Or am I just imagining that? 1 minute, I'm confident it's all in my head. The next, I feel something I didn't think possible. Confident Asher does. 2. This is why I've avoided dating for so long. It's too stressful. Well, if you change your mind, give me a shout. She shoots her eyes to mine before spinning around. I'm about to pull my hand away, but Asher tightens his grasp. I try not to read too much into it. We're just 2 friends holding hands. Hell, there were quite a few nights I dozed off on his shoulder as I listened to him strum his guitar at the lake house. Each summer, I looked forward to spending time there. After dinner, we'd sit by the lake, a campfire burning, and actually talk to each other. No distractions. Spending time together in a way most people no longer do in this technology-driven society. Jesse would inevitably go inside early, complaining about the mosquitoes. Despite not having a single bite on his flesh, I should have known then we were incompatible. He hated everything to do with nature, preferring the pace of the city. While I love urban life, I enjoy getting away from it all, too. Something I haven't had the opportunity to do for too long now. A squeeze on my hand brings me back from my memories, and I return my eyes to Asher as he releases his hold. Sorry, I shouldn't have used you as a barrier, but I don't think she would have gotten the hint otherwise. I smile weakly. What are friends for? Chapter 4. I can't remember the last time I stayed out this late. I remark as Asher and I make our way across the nearly empty parking lot. It's now that in-between time of night. Most bar and club goers are passed out in their beds. The 9-to-5ers haven't started their day yet. The only people out and about are the insomniacs, or the ones who seem to find inspiration in the romantic notion of being awake when the rest of the world sleeps. Except the nights I work. But I don't consider that staying out late. It's not exactly voluntary, but something I do so I can pay my bills. I get it, he responds with a slight wink. My body's hardwired to stay up late, too. That was always the difficult part about teaching, and the part I don't miss. I could never adjust to the early hours. Grams always said it was because I inherited her nonconformist free spirit. It was hell waking up at 6 every morning after having gone to bed only a few hours earlier. Falling asleep by 2 was a good night. I nod in understanding as we approach his car. He opens my door, and I slide into my seat. That's why I don't mind working the night shift. I think it gives you a different perspective on things. Makes you see the world in a different light. He ducks in behind the steering wheel, treating me to a small smile. Glad to see there's still a little Holly Golightly in you. I scrunch my brows. Holly Golightly, he repeats. You know, Breakfast at Tiffany's? I know who she is, but The opening scene. When she's strolling down Fifth Avenue in an evening gown and stops in front of Tiffany's to eat her breakfast. Something about that scene always spoke to me, like it was the calm before the storm. Few people get the opportunity to see Manhattan, or any city. So peaceful. I think that's why I do my best work at night after the world's gone to sleep. There's no distraction, no constant buzzing of my cell phone. I can lock myself away in the studio and write. Are you working on something now? A new album? You could say that. He sucks his bottom lip between his teeth, glancing at me in contemplation. Actually, it's something pretty big. Something that could change everything for me. That guy at the bar, I begin, meeting Asher's gaze. The one who said in a few months we wouldn't be able to turn on the radio without hearing your music. Wasn't lying. He states without me having to ask the question on the tip of my tongue. As long as I meet this deadline, honestly, I shouldn't have gone out tonight. But when Mark mentioned his band was in town, I figured taking a break and performing could be a good way to get the creative juices flowing again. Did it? He cranks the ignition, stealing a glance at me before reversing out of the parking spot. I do believe it has. He shifts into first and maneuvers the car through the lot, coming to a stop before merging onto the street. I focus on my surroundings, relishing in the chilly night air on my skin. The sky's no longer pitch black as it was when we entered the restaurant. There's an almost purple-blue hue, a warning that daybreak is on the horizon. We come to a stoplight, the lack of any noise unnerving, especially when I feel the heat of Asher's gaze on me. I glance his way, a flicker of something I can't explain in his expression. Yearning nostalgia, perhaps. He parts his lips, peering at me as if my face holds the answer to whatever has him so conflicted. Then his mouth quirks into a combination of a grin and a smirk. Are you tired? Or do you think you can last a bit longer? A little voice in my brain warns me I've already spent more time with Asher than I should have. But just like those nights at Graham's Lake House, I don't want tonight to end. Oh, baby, I can last all night long. I shoot back playfully. My smile falls quickly when I notice his grip on the steering wheel tighten. The vein in his neck throbs. His jaw ticks. I continue to stare, making sure I'm not imagining it. This time, I know I'm not. I see it. The quickening rise and fall of his chest, the constricting of his muscles, the flaring of his nostrils, all over what should have been a harmless sexual innuendo between friends, one I'd made several times with him in the past. But that was before, when it truly was harmless. I'm not sure I can say the same thing here. Not saying a word. He pulls a quick U-turn, driving deeper into the night. The wind blows my hair as I observe the commercial buildings turn into more residential neighborhoods, the traffic becoming more and more sparse. I steal a glance into the rearview mirror to see the familiar silhouette of the Vegas Strip grow smaller and more distant behind me. Where are we going? I break the cryptic silence. You'll see. So secretive. Trust me, if I told you, you wouldn't believe it. It's better if you see for yourself. Desperate to cut through the stiff tension, I flash him a bright smile. You've been moonlighting as an Elvis impersonator and have to perform a last-minute wedding for some celebrity A-listers. He glances my way, his tight expression waning, his dimples popping. I remember looking through family photo albums from when Jesse and Asher were younger. Due to their proximity in age, it was often difficult to tell one from the other, unless they were both smiling. Asher has these adorable dimples that have only made him more endearing with age. He can give off this tough, brooding persona of a tortured artist all he wants. But the second he smiles and those dimples pop, he looks like the boy next door. Maybe the bad boy next door? But he's not a bad boy, either. I'm not quite sure how to describe Asher York. I also wasn't sure back then. Nope, but good guess. Try again. Was I even remotely close? The only thing I have in common with Elvis is that he could also play guitar and sing. Okay. I exhale dramatically, looking at the sky as I try to come up with yet another ridiculous scenario. When I return my eyes to Asher, I can't help but admire his carefree and relaxed demeanor. One hand rests on the steering wheel, the other on the gear shift. Something about how casual he is as he drives this beautiful classic car makes him appear even sexier than when he performs on stage. You have an audition for one of those all-male revues and want me to give you a quick rundown from the striptease classes Bernadette made us attend a few days ago. His wide eyes fling to mine, the vein in his neck pulsing once more. Maybe I shouldn't have mentioned those lessons. You took striptease classes. His voice comes out as a low growl, heat and desire dripping from him. I can only imagine his reaction if I offered to give him a private show. And pole dance lessons. Fuck, he hisses, his hand sliding off the gear shift and onto my thigh, squeezing. I remain still, unsure where to go from here. All I know is the way he's touching me has me wanting more. That spark returning with a vengeance. He suddenly slams on the brakes, causing my body to jolt toward the windshield. The only things that keep me from crashing through it are the seatbelt and Asher's arm bracing me. Sorry. He clears his throat as he takes a quick left, the houses becoming more spread out and opulent. This isn't a regular residential neighborhood anymore. This is where the wealthy play when they're in Vegas. Almost missed the turn. Did something distract you, I tease? I'd have to surrender my man card if I wasn't distracted by that. I can see how that would be a problem with whoever sets the rules. Just as women are supposed to fawn over shirtless, well-built men as they dance on a stage, men are supposed to salivate over a woman on a pole. Not just any woman, he clarifies. The idea of you pole dancing is, well, it's like every fantasy I've ever had. The flirtatious quality to his voice is gone, replaced with a truthfulness I didn't quite anticipate. Asher, Here we are, he interrupts, his voice brightening. I study him for a moment, but his expression is even once again, like he's flipped a switch, and any craving he exhibited mere seconds ago is nothing but a distant memory. I look away, my brows drawing together when he pulls up to a gated driveway. He stops outside a box, inputting a 4-digit code. The large metal gates slowly open, granting us access. Who lives here, I ask? Do you have some wealthy benefactor? Like Paul Varjak did in Breakfast at Tiffany's. He chuckles as he navigates up a winding driveway. The instant the sprawling mansion comes into view, my jaw drops. I have no idea what's going on, but my curiosity piques more and more with each beat of my heart. No wealthy benefactor. Well, not like that anyway. There's no rich older woman I'm sleeping with in order to bankroll my life while I write. Then, have you heard of Fallen Grace? I snort. Who hasn't? You can't turn on the radio without hearing their music. Not to mention, I work in pediatric oncology. I have several patients who are teenage girls. A few of them have even hung up posters of the band in their room. Asher pulls the car into a detached garage off to the side of the main house and engages the parking brake, killing the ignition. I stare in awe at the row of sports cars. Tesla, Mercedes, BMW, even a Maserati. They're patients long enough to decorate their rooms. Asher's voice pulls me back from the myriad of questions swirling in my mind. Some of them will never walk out of that hospital again, unless the family makes the decision to do home hospice care in their final days. But their kids, he shakes his head, heartache etched in the lines of his face over this sad truth I confront daily. Cancer doesn't discriminate. Young, old, rich, poor, it doesn't matter. He stares deeper into my eyes. Then he reaches toward me, cupping my cheek, his long fingers burrowing into my thick hair. You are an incredible woman. Izzy, I've never met anyone as compassionate and selfless as you. You deserve better than... He trails off, stopping himself from finishing his sentence. He doesn't need to. I know what he was about to say. Well, you deserve better. Thank you. He keeps his hand on my cheek a heartbeat longer. For a second, I think he's about to kiss me. The way his gaze strays to my mouth and he licks his own lips in preparation. Kissing him would be wrong, would violate the unspoken rule against falling for a woman your friend, your brother already dated. But it didn't bother me when I tried all those years ago, and it doesn't bother me now. Not like it should. He closes his eyes and I tilt my head toward him, my breathing increasing in anticipation. Then his shoulders fall and he drops his hold on me, his expression pinched, as if reminding himself of who we are, who we'll always be to one another. Come on. With shaky hands, he opens the door and steps out of the car, rushing around to help me. A stiff silence fills the air as he leads me out of the garage and down a path lined with succulents in a stone bed. I glance up at the vast, 2-story house that would rival some of the ones I grew up near in Greenwich, still having no answers about who lives in it and what we're doing here, other than it having to do with one of the most popular boy bands around today. Is this Fallen Grace's party house? Chloe had mentioned several celebrities owned houses on the outskirts of the city for that exact purpose. Since she works as a celebrity news columnist, she would know. They bought it for that purpose a few years ago, but lately it has served as more of a recording studio. I halt in my tracks, mouth agape, eyes wide. I didn't expect him to agree with my statement. This is Fallen Grace's party house/recording studio. He shrugs, as if he'd just told me he had to do laundry or some other mundane task. Sure is. I blink, gawking at him. Then the house. Then back at him. Are they here? Am I going to meet Fallen Grace? Some of my teenage patients would lose their minds, especially if I'm able to get their autographs. They're home in London for a break before we hit it hard in a few weeks. His grin widens as he extends his hand toward me. Come on, I'll explain everything. I stare at his hand with skepticism before lifting my eyes to his. He arches a brow, tilting his head slightly. I wonder if this is how Alice felt when she noticed the white rabbit scurrying past her. If she was torn between remaining in her normal life and experiencing something she'd never forget, even if it was fleeting. But that didn't stop her from following the white rabbit. I don't let it stop me either. Blowing out a breath, I placed my hand in his, following him deeper and deeper down my own rabbit hole. But there's no place I'd rather be. Chapter 5. You live here now, I ask as I run my fingers along the cool ivory of a baby grand piano, floating my eyes to where Asher leans against the soundproof wall in a state-of-the-art recording studio. No more walls and ceiling covered with egg crate foam to prevent outside noise from filtering into the basement of his parents' house. This is all professionally constructed and designed, a musician's dream. It's more a temporary home out of convenience. The guys need to get a new album out, as well as prepare for an extended engagement at one of the casinos. I need to be somewhere I have access to whatever I require. Granted, when they first approached me to help with the new album, the plan was to record in LA. I sit on the piano bench, lightly pressing the keys, the soft sound filling the room. It's been years since I've played, but it's like riding a bike. You may have a few slips and falls at first, but once muscle memory kicks in, you're cruising right along. And how did they approach you? Pure dumb luck. He pushes off the wall and closes in on me in 3 long strides, sitting next to me. Or maybe the big man upstairs decided to give me a break. He places his hands on the piano keys, playing a simple bass line to complement the B-flat blues progression I'm fooling around with. To be honest, I was ready to give up. I was months behind on rent and facing eviction. Was gigging your only source of income? I play with a little more confidence, my transitions coming with greater ease. I taught private guitar and piano lessons in the afternoons, so that helped. He answers, looking at me instead of the keys. He could probably play it blindfolded. Asher in a blindfold. I extinguished the thought, silently berating my libido for going there. I had enough money in savings to keep me afloat for a little while, but after a year, that savings had dwindled to practically nothing. I'd reached the point where I didn't see any other option but to go back home. Tell my parents they were right and it was a crazy idea. Then hope they'd let me move in with them while I got my master's degree so I could teach again. That sucks. I respond, hitting the wrong note, causing a dissonance. I cringe, but Asher smiles, shrugging it off. I'm sure he's heard much worse musicians than myself. Hell, he used to teach beginner strings. If there's any class requiring earplugs and sedatives, it's that one. So one day, my phone in my hand, about to call Mom to ask if she'd help me settle up my affairs in LA so I could leave this chapter of my life behind. It rang with a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer. Figured it was another bill collector. But you did. I did. He sighs, his posture relaxing, his lips kicking up into a small smile. It's obvious how grateful he is for this opportunity, that he has no intention of taking it for granted. And that was the phone call that changed my life. Changed everything. I was seconds away from quitting. Seconds. He emphasizes, his voice brimming with passion and intensity, the music he's playing matching it. I steal a glance of the way his fingers move across the delicate ivory with ease. I could watch him play for hours and never tire of it. It's so hypnotizing, so captivating, so mesmerizing. I truly believe some bigger force intervened, saying, "Not yet." At first, I thought it was a prank. Why's that? Think about it. If you were a struggling musician, months behind on your rent and living off ramen noodles, something you never even had to do in college, how would you respond to getting a phone call from someone purporting to be the manager of one of the highest-grossing musical acts of the past decade? Offering you a job writing and producing their new album? I smile. I think it was a joke, too. David, their manager, knew it would probably come as a surprise. He convinced me to meet him the following morning and judge for myself. When I walked into the luxurious office in Century City, I knew it wasn't a prank. Gold and platinum records hung on the wall. Posh furniture filled the space. Hell, I'm pretty sure even the receptionist's shoes cost more than my rent. Christian Lou something. Louboutins, I interject. They're Christian Louboutins. They have this signature red sole that all women foam at the mouth over. He cocks a brow, including you. I pinch my lips together as I focus on the white and black keys in front of me. The melody coming easier now. Even if I am sticking close to the chord progressions, unlike Asher, who's riffing off the tune as if it's second nature to improvise a song on the spot. A girl can dream, can't she? While I'm not one to spend a fortune on clothes or shoes, considering I spend most of my life wearing scrubs, I can still look, can still pine, can still fantasize. A pair of Christian Louboutins is the female equivalent of a wet dream coming true. She certainly can. So, what happened next? I was brought into this incredible corner office that was bigger than my entire apartment. The 5 members of Fallen Grace sitting on the 2 couches. If I hadn't gotten that phone call the previous night, I probably wouldn't have recognized them. But I did some research. I'd heard of Fallen Grace, but I'm not exactly a prepubescent girl, so I didn't know what they looked like. I could probably tell you which one has dimples, which one has the goatee, and which one has the adorable birthmark right above his lip. I retort sarcastically. They're just so dreamy. I bat my lashes, mimicking the way some of my patients fawn over their teen idols. He chuckles. Well, I couldn't. I'd never even listened to their music until I got that phone call. After doing so, I wasn't sure why they called me, or how they even found me. My stuff isn't the pop music they typically perform. Right, so when I asked about it, their manager told me they were tired of the normal dog and pony show, as they called it, wanted to go for a different, more mature sound now that they were in their mid-20s. If they didn't want to die the same death every other boy band seemed to, they needed to do something to make themselves attractive to a broader audience. Take the boy out of boy band, I offer. Exactly. They'd brought in some of the top songwriters to help with the transition. But no one got it. They were all professionals who'd made a living writing melodies and lyrics that were popular. The band already knew what was popular. They didn't want that anymore. So they started hanging out in area bars in various cities, checking out the local music scene, incognito, of course. And they just so happened to be at a bar in LA where you were performing? I tilt my head at him, then quickly return my attention to the piano when I hit another wrong note. After looking at Asher's fingers to figure out where we were in the progression, I recenter my hands on an F major 7 chord, regaining my confidence. They were, well, one of them was anyway. Grabbed a postcard I was giving out containing free download codes of the songs I'd written, played it for the rest of the guys, then their manager, and the rest, as they say, is history. So you're actually writing the songs for Fallen Grace's new album? It seems so far-fetched, like something he'd tell a girl in a bar to get her to sleep with him. I am. My fingers fall from the piano as it sinks in. Why didn't he mention anything earlier? Maybe he couldn't. Maybe he's under a non-disclosure agreement. That would make sense, considering the band probably hasn't gone public with this new direction yet. The way you made it sound, you were only here for the weekend. I never said anything like that. He shrugs. You assumed? But you still didn't correct my assumption when it was obvious what I was thinking. Especially when I asked how long it takes to get here from LA. Why? The music fades away as he stops playing, facing me. I guess I wanted to make sure you were the same Isabella I remember, that you'd want to spend time with me for me. Not because of all this. He waves a hand around. Guitars of every brand hanging along the wall. A drum kit sitting in the corner that any serious drummer would drool over. Even a wet bar with top-shelf liquor so you don't have to venture into the house for a drink. Resting my hand on his arm, I lock eyes with him, refusing to look at anything else. I've always enjoyed spending time with you for you, Asher. Everything else has always just been noise. A tiny exhale of air escapes his lips as they part, a slow smile building. He scoops my hand off his arm, holding it in his, running his thumb along my skin. This time, he doesn't have an overly amorous waitress as an excuse for touching me. He doesn't have any excuse, other than he wants to, needs to. I try to tell myself it's a platonic gesture between two old friends, but the tenderness with which he brushes my knuckles, the darkening of his eyes, tell me that's not the case. Tell me we could very well be playing with fire, just like we did all those years ago. An outside force pulls me toward him, a tether keeping our bodies bound to each other. As I lean closer, Asher shifts his eyes to my lips. His shoulders rise and fall in a quicker pattern, his grip on my hand tightening to the point of being nearly painful. A tumultuous tug-of-war plagues his expression. Desire, then guilt, infatuation, then indifference, hunger, then repulsion. His conscience winning out. He jumps up from the bench, stalking toward the door. It's almost sunrise. His voice trembles with the after effects of his internal battle. I can't even pretend to be surprised by his abrupt retreat. That seems to be the game we're playing. One step forward, a giant leap backward, a promise to move ahead, then a swift change of course. Or maybe change of heart. It's beautiful off the back patio. You should really see it. It'll be like old times. I sigh, briefly closing my eyes before standing. Like old times. I repeat, meeting him in the doorway. He offers me an apologetic smile, which I return with a nod of understanding. Then he leads me out of the recording studio and down the long corridor lined with framed prints of some of the biggest names in the industry. When we emerge into the living area, he continues toward a set of French doors, opening one and allowing me to step outside before him. This way. He rests his hand on my lower back, steering me through a luxurious patio, complete with a fire pit, past what appears to be a regulation pool, and up to the edge of the property. A glow has already begun to sneak out behind the mountains in the distance. I'd always thought Las Vegas to be flat. For the most part, it is. But this house sits on a parcel of land that's elevated enough so I can see the Strip with no obstruction. Not my favorite city in the world, but it's home to one hell of a sunrise, even better than at the lake house. A smile radiates through his features. Well, I wouldn't go that far. He rests his forearms on the steel fence surrounding the property, peering into the distance, deep in thought. I do the same, basking in what I know will be our last few minutes together. We've settled into our old routine, a few drinks, a bite to eat, although it used to be in the form of roasting marshmallows and hot dogs, playing music, watching the sunrise, then going our separate ways. I hope it's not too bold of me to say. He leans toward me. But the reason I loved those sunrises was because of who I often had the pleasure of watching them with. The heat of his breath on my neck sends an involuntary tremble racing through me. "Are you cold?" he asks, oblivious to the fact that my reaction was because of him, because of his words, his honesty, his everything. "Let me grab a sweatshirt for you." He starts toward the house, but I wrap my hand around his bicep, stopping him. "Don't." I quickly release my hold on him, increasing the space between us before I'll no longer be able to control myself. I wouldn't want you to miss the sunrise. I resume my position, subconsciously rubbing my arms to fight against the chill as I watch the glow make its gradual ascent over the peaks. It's unlike any sunrise I've seen. One side of the mountain is in light, the other still shrouded in relative darkness, like an eclipse. As I marvel at how beautiful this planet truly is, a presence approaches from behind. Asher wraps me in his embrace, pulling me into his strong body. "Glad to see some things never change," he comments, running his calloused hands up and down my arms. "What do you mean by that?" "You're still as stubborn as you were all those years ago. When we sat and watched the sunrise together at the lake, you never let me run inside to grab you a sweatshirt. Why's that?" I'm not sure what comes over me. Maybe it's the lack of sleep. Maybe it's feeling like this is a dream. Or maybe it's the idea that I've longed to be in this man's presence again for the past 8 years. So instead of brushing off his question, I do something I normally wouldn't. I offer him a piece of the truth, regardless of how he'll respond. In a few hours, I'll be on a plane heading back to my life, and he'll return to his may as well take a risk. I didn't want to lose the moment. I answer in a soft voice. Didn't want it to disappear. I don't have to turn around to feel the smile on his lips. He draws me closer, the sear of his breath on my nape spreading a glow within. I won't disappear. "Here we are," Asher announces as he pulls the car into the valet area under the awning leading to the lobby. "Here we are," I repeat, pretending not to be as forlorn over the idea of saying goodbye as I am. The entire drive here, I wanted to tell him to take me back so we could have another day, another hour, another minute. But it's after 7 in the morning. Chloe and I are supposed to leave for the airport at 11. That only gives me a few hours to get a little sleep so I'm not a complete zombie. But I'd gladly trade those few hours of sleep for more time with Asher, to recreate whatever I experienced the last several hours. He holds my gaze, his expression making me think there's a question on the tip of his tongue, as seemed to be the case all night. He shakes it off, stepping out of the car and making his way around to my side, helping me to my feet. "Promise you'll stay in touch." He brushes that same errant strand of hair behind my ear. "That you won't shut me out because—" "I promise," I respond, saving him from having to bring up Jesse. "Good." I shift on my feet, uncertain of the protocol in saying goodbye to your ex-fiancé's brother, whom you fantasized about kissing on more than one occasion throughout the night. I doubt there is one. "Well then," I clear my throat, stepping back. It was before I can utter another syllable. He advances and clutches my face in his hands. It steals my breath, a current pulsating through me. I swallow hard as I'm forced to stare into the fervor in his deep-set eyes. Years' worth of longing swirling into a tidal pool of lust. Izzy. The way my name rolls off his tongue has my insides coiling and tightening. It's husky, yet still prayer-like, a wanton benediction, a sensual communion. My virtuous sin? His lips inch closer and closer as his grasp on my face becomes harsher, more punishing, more consuming. I can physically feel the battle waging, his mouth struggling to advance while the wounded pieces of him sound a retreat, yanking him back. His chest heaves, muscles shaking. Everything about this moment so surreal, so hypnotizing, so fucking perfect. I don't even care if he actually kisses me or not. The knowledge he wants to is enough. With a growl, he tears his hands from me, anguish and turmoil covering his expression. A beat passes, then another as he hangs his head, attempting to collect himself. When he returns his eyes to mine, they're no longer inflamed, those of an untamed beast. They're even, albeit still flickering with want. He expels a sigh and brushes his lips against my forehead. The touch is slight, yet profound. More profound than any act of intimacy I've experienced these last few years. Because with just the most subtle of touches, I feel the meaning behind it. Thanks for tonight. It was exactly what I needed. Me too. I respond with a half-hearted smile when he pulls back. Go get some rest. You too. I don't think I could sleep if I tried, he admits. No, he treats me to one last devilish grin, slowly shaking his head. No, can't waste this. Waste what? He grabs my hand in his, bringing my knuckles up to his lips. His eyes remain glued to mine as he feathers a soft kiss across the skin. You inspire me. He allows his words to linger in the air between us. Then he drops his hold on me, rushing to his car and jumping behind the wheel. He cranks the ignition, which roars to life, grabbing the attention of a few valet attendants and early morning stragglers making their way to whatever hotel they're staying at. As he's about to drive off, he glances back at me. You've always inspired me. Chapter 6. I stare out the windows of the airline lounge, watching airplanes prepare to depart. I've always found airports fascinating. It probably comes from my mother's background as a flight attendant and her love of flying, but something about air travel speaks to the romantic in me. Even if it's nowhere as glamorous as it once was, thank God for espresso. Chloe's voice cuts through my moment of peace. I shift my eyes forward as she plops onto the chair across from me. It's good for what ails you, like I always say. I know, when you need something stronger than coffee but weaker than cocaine. Precisely. So, back to work tomorrow. She avoids my eyes, looking out at the runway. Don't think you're getting out of this so easily. I warn, then lean toward her, lowering my voice. Who was that guy I saw you practically humping in the lobby? Humping. Did you just say humping? I take a sip of my coffee, needing it to keep my eyelids open. Thankfully, my body has learned to function on minimal sleep, so the few hours I had once I returned to my room is enough to trick my body into thinking it got more. You're deflecting, just like you did the entire ride to the airport, which lasted all of 10 minutes. Still, I raise my brows in expectation, a silent warning I have no intention of dropping the subject until she talks. When I walked into the lobby to meet Chloe earlier, I was convinced my eyes were deceiving me. Or there was a Chloe doppelganger roaming the streets of Vegas. The last thing I expected to encounter was my friend, who's always shunned any semblance of romance, wrapped in a man's embrace, about to kiss him. Until a group of rowdy guys, who didn't look old enough to drink, bumped into her, making her lose her balance. We'd been in Vegas for 4 days and she never mentioned meeting a guy. Based on the way he looked at her, this was not their first encounter. Then again, I haven't told her about running into Asher. I'm not prepared for the barrage of questions she'll inevitably have. I'm still uncertain how to answer my own, especially after his admission that I've always inspired him. You can't avoid this forever. We do have a 5-hour flight where I can continue to pester you until you tell me what I want to know. And I can be very annoying. You should know that by now. Her mouth in a tight line. She studies me for a few moments, then sighs. Fine. Uncrossing her arms, she brings her espresso back to her lips, taking a sip. Remember the club we went to our first night here? I roll my eyes. I'd rather forget it. Wouldn't we all? She mirrors my own sentiments on the ridiculousness of this weekend. So, I arch an expectant brow. Remember when I excused myself to get a drink after Bernadette demanded blowjob shots at the top of her lungs? I nod. Well, After I got my drink and was on my way back, some guy came up to me thinking I was a prostitute. I tried to tell him I wasn't, but I'm pretty sure he was dropped on his head too many times as a child because he refused to believe me. So, what you see him in the lobby this morning and decide to kiss him? She scrunches up her face. God, no. If I ever run into him again, I'll knee him in the balls, like I should have the other night. But before I had the chance, an arm wrapped around me and pried me out of his grasp. An arm, I give her a sideways glance. A smile unlike any I have seen on my friend's face pulls on her mouth, serenity engulfing her. A really muscular and defined arm dressed in a blazer. She stares into the distance for another beat before returning her eyes to mine. He ended up sending the guy packing with his balls between his legs. Then I thought he was trying to pick me up because he called me Dick Girl. In reality, he was calling me that because of the stupid penis necklace Bernadette insisted we all wear. I didn't think you were gone that long. I wasn't apparently long enough for him to leave an impression on you. That, and we kept bumping into each other all weekend. The other night, I went to the Italian restaurant off the casino floor to get something to eat before the striptease and pole dance classes. He was there, sat next to me, had this incredibly sensual conversation, paid for my tab. Then this morning, as I was riding down to the lobby, the elevator stopped on the floor below mine. Wouldn't you know it? When the doors opened, he stood there, waiting to get on. So we walked to the lobby together. Then he left. But he came back, said he couldn't leave without kissing me. Her mouth crawls into a dreamy smile again, a blush blooming on her cheeks as she seems to glow from the memory. I can't remember the last time Chloe has talked about a guy like this. Hell, I can't remember the last time she's talked about a guy, period. She has her reasons, the most prominent being an alcoholic mother she's been taking care of the past decade. She doesn't think she can manage both. And considering you saw the rest, that brings you up to speed. So, who is he? She sips her espresso. Like I told you earlier, just some guy. His name would suffice. She shrugs. I don't know it. My jaw slackens and I lean toward her. You mean to tell me that, of the 3 times you've seen him, 4, if you count him coming back to try to kiss me? Whatever. I wave her off. That's not the point. The point is that you never thought to ask him his name. I did think of it. A name is usually the first thing I ask. You'd think with all the time you spent bumping into each other this weekend, you would have gotten that much. It's just... She exhales, visibly flustered. I want to ask who this imposter is and what she's done with my friend. The woman who doesn't let anyone or anything get to her. Every time I saw him. Her expression softens as she shakes her head, her tone contemplative. Her eyes shine with weightlessness. It was quiet. Quiet? What do you mean? Setting her small cup on the coffee table between us, she angles toward me. All the noise of my life. Her voice is no louder than a whisper, as if worried someone she knows might overhear and announce to the world that underneath the hard outer shell is someone who wants the same thing we all do. It was gone. I nod, although Chloe and I aren't as close as we once were. There's something to be said about being around when the shit hits the fan, so to speak. And I was there when the shit hit the fan in Chloe's life. When her parents divorced. When she left the quaint, upper-middle-class neighborhood in Connecticut and started a new life in New Jersey with her mother. When she tried to hide the fact that her mother was an alcoholic. But I knew. Chloe can hide from a lot of people, but she can't hide from me. I see through it all. Even the shit she doesn't think anyone knows. Sometimes you just need someone to quiet it for a minute, I respond thoughtfully, giving her a reassuring smile. Because of that, I didn't think a name was necessary. Our eyes lock, my expression relaying complete understanding. Then her lips turn into a devious grin. You do have to admit, the entire scenario is kind of hot. Not knowing his name, anything about him. Kind of hot, I giggle, fanning myself. Try off the charts, I noticed the chemistry between you two right away. Even if all he did was kiss your cheek. It was incredibly sexy. I can't imagine how it made you feel. Like I could let go. For once, I didn't worry about the fact that we're polar opposites, that he's presumably this guy who has his shit together, whereas I'm lucky if I don't lock myself out of my apartment on a daily basis. But each time I saw him, I didn't think about any of that. Didn't try to distance myself because of how it would play out. It's almost like we were in our own little bubble. Bubbles can be good, I respond, knowing all too well what she's going through. I felt the same way with Asher all evening, like we were protected from the reality of who we were to each other, even if for a brief moment, especially a bubble that sexy. My voice brightens, and I hope Chloe can't see past my walls as easily as I can peer through hers. She stares at me for a split second with her analytical eyes. I hold my breath, waiting for her to pounce. Then she breaks into a laugh, and I follow, sending up a silent prayer. I'm not sure how I'll ever be able to explain my night with Asher to anyone. I'm not sure I want to. I want to keep that memory mine, hold it close and cherish it once I return to New York. So, what do you think the girls are up to today? She asks once our laughter dies down. Knowing Bernadette, something cliché and inappropriate? If I ever get that lonely and desperate for attention, promise me you'll smack some sense into me and tell me I don't need to stay in a loveless marriage, that there's better out there for me. You know I will, I assure her just as a chiming echoes from her cell phone. She glances to where it sits on the table, and I steal a peek, seeing her mother's name appear on the screen. With haste, she grabs the phone, firing off a quick text before placing it back down. She doing okay, I ask, a touch of hesitation in my voice. Yeah. She reaches for her espresso, finishing it. She's been dating this guy who works in the same building. She looks past me, a smile pulling on her lips. So uncharacteristic. It's actually a sweet story. Somehow, they kept riding up to their floors in the same elevator. After about a week, he mentioned it to her, said he couldn't ignore it anymore, that it was a sign. A sign, my lips quirk up. That's not the same thing, she snips back, fully aware I'm referring to her multiple encounters with her mystery man this weekend. The same could be said about my chance encounter with Asher. Maybe it was a sign that I shouldn't have erased him from my life, but it's harder to call one random meeting a sign. Mom works in the same building as Aaron. There's a decent likelihood of running into him again. This thing with me and whoever he is, well, it's different. I have a better chance of winning the lottery than seeing him again. You're probably right, but what if you do? It'll never happen, she retorts. I'm about to get on a flight back to New York. He was headed. She waves her hand around. Wherever. So yeah, not going to happen. But if it does, I press. This time more out of curiosity. A part of me needs to hear Chloe admit that maybe she'll consider pursuing something, despite all the obstacles in her life. Even if many of them are self-imposed, then I won't feel so mixed up about Asher. The way his fingers warmed my skin, the way his body felt against mine, the way his words filled me with hope. It won't, she insists. But if it does, it won't. Yeah, but if it does, she groans, dramatically rolling her eyes. Fine. If by some miracle I do see him again, maybe I'll admit there might be a reason for it all. I nod, leaning back into my chair, content with her answer. But it won't happen, she adds. I glare at her. Always have to have the last word, don't you? Always? Her phone dings once more. Probably another text from her mother. And she grabs it. Shit, she mutters as my own phone chimes. What is it? I reach into my bag, retrieving my cell. A part of me hopes it's a text from Asher. Instead, it's an alert from the airline. Damn it. Yep, flight to JFK is canceled. I close my eyes, pinching the bridge of my nose. Just how I want to spend my day. Stuck in the airport. Normally, a canceled flight wouldn't bother me, but I was looking forward to getting on that plane and catching up on my sleep. I hate the idea of sitting in this hellhole all day while we wait for another flight. And not any airport. She gestures in the direction of the terminal, past the doors of the serene lounge, the clanging of slot machines faint but still ever present. I have a feeling I'm going to hear that noise for the next few weeks. McCarran Airport in fabulous Las Vegas. If the Strip is the 10th circle of hell, this place is purgatory. Glad to see all those literature classes paid off. What flight did they rebook you on? She looks at her phone, and I do the same. Red-eye, 11 p.m. And here's the kicker. No seat assignment available. I hold out my cell toward her. Me too. It looks like they're cramming everyone onto that flight. What are the chances of us actually getting on? I ask rhetorically. I'd like to say they wouldn't rebook us just to tell us no in 10 hours. My mother used to work for an airline. I remind her. They absolutely would do such a thing. I'll be right back. Without giving her a chance to ask what I'm up to, I jump from my chair and walk with determined strides toward the front desk of the lounge, where it appears several other people on the same flight are attempting to rebook. As I wait, I come up with a plan. If we're able to get seats, I'll take that as a sign I'm supposed to leave my one night with Asher as just that one night. But if we can't, maybe it's the universe's way of saying we weren't supposed to have left things the way we did, that we're supposed to explore what I'm confident he felt. 2. The connection, the electricity, the passion. God, I've missed having this kind of passion in my life. When it's my turn, the agent waves me over with a smile. Let me guess, you're on the canceled flight to JFK? Yes, both my friend and I were rebooked on the red-eye tonight without any seat assignment. What are the chances we'll actually get on that flight? I'm sure. I know how these things work, I interrupt. My mother is a former airline employee. We suffered through all those standby employee trips for years, and I'd rather not have to do that again. So just tell me how far down the list we are, unless you can get us seats now. Blowing out a sigh, she taps at her keyboard for a moment. What's your name? Isabella Nolan, and my friend is Chloe Davenport. She refocuses on the screen, a slight cringe crossing her expression. It's oversold, she tells me. Although I already knew that, doesn't mean you won't get on. But we're pretty far down on the request list, right? Since you're a displaced traveler, you do have priority. But there's an entire flight of displaced travelers. I argue back. I can get you confirmed seats on the noon flight to JFK tomorrow if you'd prefer. Let me go check with my friend. I'll be right back. Certainly. I spin around, hurrying back to tell Chloe the news. I can get us guaranteed seats on the noon flight tomorrow. The red-eye is oversold, and they'll most likely be forced to rebook again if they can't get enough people with confirmed seats to give them up. You in guaranteed seats, or take a risk on the red-eye? She blows out a breath, rubbing her temples. It's more than apparent she's not too keen about being stuck in this town. Maybe I should have pushed harder to get us on the red-eye. But the truth remains. The instant I saw our flight was canceled, hope brimmed inside me. Grams always said, with every new day we're given a new chance. Maybe this is my new chance. For what I'm not quite sure, but I can't shake the feeling there's a bigger reason for this. Guaranteed seats. I brim with excitement, but do my best to hide it. Give me your boarding pass and I'll get you rebooked. I hold out my hand. She places her phone into it, her boarding pass on the screen. Thanks. Be right back. I return to the desk and approach the same agent, handing her both our boarding passes. Within a few moments, we're rebooked. As I turn to head back to Chloe, my phone dings. I figure it's just my new flight information, but glance at the screen anyway. When I see Asher's name, my heart ricochets into my throat. Speaking of signs, safe travels today. Seeing you again was the highlight of my month. Hell, probably my year. I hope our paths cross again soon. I chew on my bottom lip as I read his text. I may regret what I'm about to do, maybe trying to see something that's not there, but some other force is pulling the strings. Drawing in a deep breath, I find Asher's contact in my phone and press it, listening to it ring. Izzy, he answers almost immediately. All these years later and he still has the same number. Then again, so do I. Hey, Ash, is everything okay? I suppose. I respond in a drawn-out voice before blurting. My flight was canceled. Chloe and I are stuck in Vegas for another night. And, do you need a place to stay? He offers without a moment's hesitation. You're both more than welcome to come here. Are you sure I wouldn't want to put you out? I know you're trying to write. An old college buddy is visiting today, so I won't get much writing done anyway. He lowers his voice. And I'd love to have more time with you. I hated leaving you this morning with the thought that another 8 years would go by without seeing you. Now I get one more chance. A shiver rolls through me at the huskiness in his tone. I try to tell myself he doesn't mean anything by it, that his words don't carry the double meaning my sex-starved brain attributes to them. He's an old friend, nothing more. "We'll be there in about an hour," I say, not responding to his comment. "Maybe sooner. Is that okay?" "Absolutely. I'll text you the address and gate code. Come on up once you get here." "Sounds good." "Perfect." I stay on the line, almost waiting for him to back out. Tell me this isn't a good idea. After the constant seesaw last night, it's not out of the realm of possibilities. But he doesn't. "See you soon, See you soon, Ash." I go to disconnect when he calls my name. "Izzy." "Yes. I'm really glad your flight was canceled." I exhale a tiny breath. Me too. Chapter 7. Queasiness settles deep in my stomach as our Uber makes the turn onto Asher Street. My eyes are laser-focused out the window, avoiding Chloe's inquisitive stare crawling along my skin from across the back seat of the car. She hasn't pressed about this so-called friend I knew in college who we'd be crashing with. Now that we're driving past large estates that rival the size of those on all those celebrity lifestyle shows, I can sense her curiosity grow. I don't have to look at her to know her eyes are wide, her mouth agape, her brows pinched. It's how I looked a few hours ago. "Right here," I tell the driver when I see the familiar gate come into view. He slows to a stop in front of the sprawling house, and I inhale a calming breath. This isn't a ludicrous idea. Is it God? I hope not. Only time will tell. "Where the hell are we, David Copperfield's house?" Chloe quips. "No, I make a show of collecting my purse and laptop bag, but my sources say he lives around here somewhere." "Sources? What sources?" "I'm your source for all things celebrity. Maybe there are some things about me you don't know." More than she realizes. My fingers on the handle. I pass her a conniving smile, then climb onto the sidewalk. It's strange not to be met with a barrage of cars or slot machines, as would have happened had we stayed at a hotel on the Strip. How does that saying go, Toto? I don't think we're in Kansas anymore. Well, we're certainly not in the Las Vegas Chloe was probably expecting. We've flown over the rainbow, at least I have. I walk toward the trunk where our driver is retrieving our bags. When Chloe doesn't immediately appear, I head to her side, rapping on the window before opening the door. "Are you coming? Or do you want to call Bernadette and see if you can crash with her tonight? Maybe stay up and do a makeover, then go to some pure romance party." "I wouldn't mind going to a pure romance party." She scoots out of the car. I'm all for women exploring their sexuality, but I'll pass on the Bernadette makeover. With the amount of makeup she'd cake on my face, and the revealing outfit she'd stuff me in, I'd come out of there looking like a blow-up doll. Collecting her bag from our driver, she smiles her thanks, then walks up to the gate with me. I retrieve my phone to verify the code Asher texted earlier and punch it into the security box. Once the gate slides open, I continue up the elaborate driveway. When I don't sense Chloe following, I glance over my shoulder. "Are you coming?" I huff once more, this time with irritation for good measure. "I suppose." She continues toward me with reluctant steps, neither one of us saying a word, as she takes in the well-maintained grounds that make it appear as if a gardener comes daily. But the second we round the corner and Chloe is treated to her first glimpse of the house, that silence comes to an end, as I knew it would. I'm not stupid enough to think I wouldn't have to tell her this friend is Asher York. I didn't want her to talk me out of this, to remind me of all the reasons this is a bad idea. I have enough of those on my own without her adding to them. She says as we approach the front steps. I face her, albeit with reservation. "Who lives here?" "Just an old friend from my undergrad days." "Friend? Does this friend happen to be of the male persuasion?" "Yes." I straighten my spine, but still don't look her directly in the eyes. "Call me crazy? You certainly are. But I get the feeling there's more to the story than this guy being just a friend." I worry my bottom lip. How do I explain I spent all night with my ex-fiancé's brother without her throwing a yellow flag on the play? I can insist we're only friends, that we ran into each other last night and caught up, which is the truth. If I'd run into anyone else from my college days, that would be the story I'd tell. But I felt it the first time I saw Asher perform, before I'd even heard the name Jesse York. I felt it last night when I heard his voice after so many years. And I felt it this morning when we said what I thought would be goodbye to each other. Asher will always be something more than simply a friend. He will always own a piece of my heart. What is it? She rests her hand on my bicep, giving me a reassuring smile. You can tell me anything. I know that. But this... I shake my head, staring into the distance, as if the answer is there. I doubt there will ever be a solution to this jumbled puzzle I've trapped myself in by accepting Asher's invitation to stay at his house for the night. Drawing in a deep breath, I bring my eyes back to hers. It's Asher York. Everything seems to stop now that the truth is out there. Time, the Earth's rotation, hell, even the birds have grown silent, the breeze gone, everything still in the stagnant desert air. Asher York. As in Jesse York's older brother, she asks calmly, her expression unreadable, which only heightens my edginess. It's not exactly a common name, is it? I laugh, trying to cover my nerves, but it has the opposite effect. Asher York, the handsome, struggling musician. Yup, the Asher York with a singing voice that makes you forget your name. That's the one. The Asher York who looks like a fucking Adonis with a guitar strapped to him. Yes, Chloe, that Asher York. I say louder as a blush blooms on my cheeks. If she only knew just how amazing Asher York looks now with a guitar slung over his chiseled body. He's a far cry from the guy I knew all those years ago. Hell, if the band's lead singer hadn't introduced him by name last night, I probably wouldn't have recognized him, but I would have eventually figured it out. He still has the same raspy, soulful voice, still writes lyrics filled with so much passion and heartache. The Asher York, who would have been your brother-in-law if you hadn't smartened up and called off your engagement to Jesse. Exactly. I swallow hard, a pang squeezing my heart, my stomach churning. I shouldn't feel guilty about this. I haven't spoken to Jesse in years, but I still can't help but feel like I'm betraying him by being here. Even if nothing untoward has happened between Asher and me. She blinks once, twice, then she steps back, glancing around at the exquisite grounds, her voice chipper. Well, it looks like Asher's not a struggling musician anymore. Is he? Oh, this isn't his place. I correct quickly. He's just kind of staying here. Like house-sitting. Not exactly. A motion catches my attention. I whip my eyes to the front door. Asher appearing. A wicked smile curls his lips as he crosses his arms over his chest, leaning against the door jamb. It takes all my willpower not to ogle his biceps. Hell, it seems to take all Chloe's willpower too. I can't blame her. He is really nice to look at. When I told you it was okay for you both to crash here, I meant inside the house, not on the front stoop. Hey, Ash. My cheeks warm as my lips kick up in the corners, the response as innate as breathing. I avert my eyes, doing everything I can to hold on to the little composure I have left, so as not to make it obvious there's something more going on between us. I keep reminding myself there isn't. We've never even kissed. Not like that. So why do I feel like a hormonally crazed teenager who's run into the object of her affection during a middle school dance? Thanks for this. It's nothing. You know that. He uncrosses his arms, taking a step toward me. I was thrilled to hear your voice, considering I thought you'd be 35,000 feet in the air by now. I lift my eyes to his. I guess the universe had different plans. I guess so. A beat passes as we stay in our bubble where it's just us. Then he remembers we're not alone and clears his throat, looking to my left. Chloe, good to see you again. I like the hair. It suits you. Thanks for letting us stay here. Anytime. I'd never turn away a friend in need. I notice the faintest hint of a wink as he gestures for us to come in. Hear that? She leans into me as we pass him, entering the foyer. He'll never turn away a friend in need. Oh, hush. It's not like that. You want it to be like that, though, right? Maybe. I mumble in a barely audible voice, hoping she can't hear. But the devious expression on her face tells me she did. I'll show you around down here, then take you up to where you'll be staying, Asher announces. Great, I respond brightly, spinning around to face him. Great, he repeats, his voice full of uncertainty as he eyes me, my overly enthusiastic reaction presumably catching him off guard. That's the downside of trying to hide things from someone you once knew so well. They'll know in a heartbeat when you're acting out of character, just like I am now. So, the tour, Chloe asks, stepping forward. Right? This way? He turns around, and I can't help but stare at his backside. It doesn't matter that he's wearing a white linen shirt and a pair of loose-fitting shorts. I can still make out the definition of his muscles through his clothes. I thought the dimples on his face were addictive. They have nothing on those right above his waistline. Come on, Izzy! Chloe grabs my arm, snapping me out of my mental undressing. I stumble, my face burning, but I push down any embarrassment from getting caught ogling him. We follow him into the spacious open living area that contains the kitchen, an informal dining space, as well as a sitting area, complete with large screen TV, and what I can only imagine is a state-of-the-art sound system. The entire place boasts high ceilings, neutral walls and furniture, the space bathed in natural light, based on the decor. I never would have guessed who owned this house. It's muted and understated, apart from a glass display case in the corner of the living room containing a handful of Grammys that Chloe pays no attention to. Nothing indicates this is home to Fallen Grace's recording studio. Asher leads us down a long corridor, showing Chloe the game room, library, workout room, and the wine cellar. Even though I struggle to call it a cellar since it's on the ground floor, I feign interest in the tour, not wanting to make it too obvious I've been here before. Although it's only a matter of time until I'm forced to come clean. As we leave the theater room, I expect him to show her the one remaining space, the recording studio. Instead, he heads back toward the foyer. Grabbing our bags, he leads us up the stairs and down what he referred to as the guest wing, after showing Chloe to her room. He turns to me, pulling my rollerboard a little farther down the hallway, opening the door into a luxurious space that would rival even a 5-star hotel. Lush, 4-poster bed, fireplace, magnificent view. Ensuite bathroom I imagine contains a jetted tub. I hope these accommodations are up to your satisfaction. He enters behind me, setting my suitcase on an ottoman sitting below one of the windows overlooking the patio. The Las Vegas skyline on the horizon, majestic mountains stretching beyond it. I suppose it'll do, I joke, shifting on my feet. At least it's only for one night. You're a resourceful girl. I'm sure you'll survive these inferior quarters. His eyes shine as they trace over my face with amusement, his smile wide. Then he steps back. I'll let you get settled. I'm about to fire up the grill and make some burgers. Burgers, are they? Dad's recipe, you'd better believe it. I place a hand on my hip, and his gaze floats to the sliver of exposed skin between my jeans and my shirt. So he finally decided you were trustworthy enough to be given it. Sure did, he replies boastfully, jutting out his chest. Of course. It took quitting my decent-paying, respectable job, with great benefits and summers off, and moving out to California for him to share it. Said if things got bad, I could at least sell the recipe to make a bit of money. He winks, the gesture causing my knees to weaken. I'm glad you didn't have to resort to that. Your father's recipe should stay in the family. I pat my stomach, although I hope you have enough. It's been years since I've had one of your father's world-famous burgers. I may eat my weight in them. If I have to run to the store to get more ingredients, I'll do it. Can't have you leaving, unsatisfied. My mouth grows dry at the innuendo. Every cell in my body humming with the need to know all the ways Asher can satisfy me. I imagine he'd be able to do so in a manner no man before him has, in a manner no man after him will again. But that's all this can be. A fantasy, nothing more. With a smirk, he turns, his footsteps sounding his retreat. I go to my suitcase, about to unpack, when his deep voice fills the space. Hey, Izzy. I whirl around, meeting his dark eyes swimming with deep indecision, the pendulum still swinging madly within. He licks his lips, squinting, searching for an answer that remains out of reach. Then he exhales, his expression softening. I'm glad you're here. Really glad. He doesn't wait for me to reply, spinning around and disappearing down the hallway. I'm in so much trouble, I murmur to myself. Chapter 8. When were you going to tell me you've been getting all chummy with Asher York? Chloe bites out the second I pull back the door to my room after changing into the only bathing suit I brought with me, a revealing black bikini that seems to make my already ample chest seem even more voluptuous. As if I'm doing it intentionally for Asher. Maybe I am. Have you been waiting outside my room this entire time? No. She grabs my arm, ushering me back into my room and closing the door. But I figured 20 minutes would give you enough time to shave all your naughty bits to clear a landing strip. Dropping her grip on me, she sweeps her gaze over me, a smirk pulling on her mouth. I was right. I wrap my arms over my stomach, trying to hide my body, but my sheer white cover-up doesn't help much in that area. Don't get your hopes up. There will be no landing. Why, I saw the way you looked at him. Chloe, I begin, but she doesn't let me say another word. And I saw the way he looked at you. How long has this been going on? Sighing, I collapse onto the bed. Less than 24 hours. Although one could argue it's been going on since my freshman year of college. How she sits next to me, frowning, her brow wrinkled. We've spent our entire weekend together. I'm pretty sure I would have noticed you talking to Asher. Hell, pretty sure Bernadette would have noticed too. She would have included it in the gossip section of one of her daily Bachelorette News emails she's been sending. Please tell me you don't actually read those. She shrugs. I may have fed her a fake story or two, but that's irrelevant. What's the deal with you and Asher? No deal. We ran into each other last night, I explain, looking ahead with an unfocused gaze. Last night, when my body still thinks it's working the night shift, so I ended up going out and found an Irish pub with a live band. It was a nice change after the thumping club music we've been forced to endure this weekend. You mean you haven't been enjoying all that electronic crap? She mocks in faux disbelief. Brushing off her comment, I continue. I went inside to have a beer and unwind. Imagine my surprise when the lead singer of the band performing announced a special guest by the name of Asher York. After he finished singing, he noticed me in the crowd and came up to me. We ended up hanging out. But you've been here before, she remarks, as I suspected she would. Chloe has one of those analytical minds that doesn't miss much. It's what makes her one hell of a gossip columnist. She can smell a story before it even starts. I've lost count of the number of celebrity pregnancies she's accurately predicted before they've been announced to the public. Hell, there were a few she knew about before the celebrity's own publicist was made aware. After last call, we went to get a bite to eat. My lips tick up into a smile. Then he wasn't ready for our night together to end, so he brought me back here. And what did you two do when you got here? She waggles her brows. Played the piano, I answer. I bet you did. We did. Then we watched the sunrise before he drove me back to the hotel. So you mean to tell me you spent all night with Asher York? And not the Asher York you knew those years ago, but that Asher York. She points toward the closed door. You're trying to tell me you spent all night with him, played piano, watched the sunrise, and nothing happened. Precisely. She pinches her lips together. Did you want something to happen? I don't know. Chloe. I get up from the bed, pacing as I attempt to make sense of my warring emotions. The entire time I dated Jesse, I never once thought of Asher this way, never looked at him this way, until the day I realized the truth. I find that hard to believe, she mutters. Why? She rolls her eyes. I may not have gone to college with you, but I saw how you guys were, even back then, and I wasn't the only one. Hell, at your own engagement party, you spent most of the night hanging out with Asher. Because Jesse got drunk at the Sox game earlier in the day, Asher was only trying to make up for his brother's lack of self-control. Still, standing. She shrugs before crossing her arms in front of her. You guys have always been good together. We've always been friends. She approaches. What changed? I point toward the door. Just as she did a few seconds ago. Have you seen him? You just admitted you've noticed the changes. He's definitely got an incredible body now. She giggles. And that hair. He's got that sexy Johnny Depp hair. And you know how much I love me some Johnny Depp, and so do you. Bet you'd love to tug on that. Am I right? She nudges me, passing me a devious smirk that has me cracking a smile in less than a second. Maybe. Her playfulness fades as she peers at me with all the sincerity I've come to expect from my lifelong friend. So what's stopping you? Oh, I don't know. I throw my hands up, my voice laden with sarcasm. Maybe the fact I was once engaged to his brother, and not a brother he doesn't get along with, a brother who's also his best friend. He'd never betray Jesse like that. And even if he would, you hate the idea of doing anything that would jeopardize their relationship. She finishes. She knows me better than most people. She was the first person I went to when I found out I was adopted. She made me see it didn't change anything, that I still had a loving family, even if we didn't share DNA. Learning you're adopted makes you see family in a different light, makes you treasure it more. My stomach roils at the idea of being the cause of any strife between Asher and Jesse, which is why I cut ties with them all those years ago. My heart had splintered in two different directions. It was better to walk away before it was beyond repair. Do you blame me? On a long exhale, Chloe drapes an arm over my shoulders, pulling me back onto the bed. I certainly don't, but you also don't need to sit here, making long-term plans for a future. Hell, you don't even have to make plans for tomorrow, since we're headed back home. God willing. Have fun, and enjoy your time with Asher. The seriousness and compassion in her expression wanes, her mouth kicking up into a mischievous grin once more. And if something should happen, you know what they say about this town, don't you? She stands, heading toward the door. What happens here? I know. Stays here. I finish, dragging myself to my feet. Exactly. Now, let's go enjoy one more day in the sun before we have to return to the frozen tundra of Manhattan. She loops her arm through mine, pulling me out of the room and down the stairs. The instant we turn the corner into the open kitchen, my heart speeds up at the sight of Asher standing in front of the island. I can't stop my lips from parting, my eyes drawn to the flexing muscles in his forearms as he works the meat into patties. It's a simple act, one that shouldn't be considered erotic in any sense, but it sets my body aflame. All right, Asher, Chloe says, flashing me a sly grin, noticing my stare trained on him. Whose house is this? Izzy said you're not house-sitting, so what are you doing in a place like this? Don't think I can afford it myself. He catches my eye, winking, which only serves to turn me into a ball of putty. God, this man can wink. Last I heard, you were playing bars in LA, trying to make it big. This statement surprises me since I didn't even know he'd left Boston. Maybe I've made it big. Have you? It's silent for a moment while he considers Chloe's question. Then he returns his attention to the hamburger mixture, continuing to form the patties. Not yet, but I'm one step closer. What do you mean? She looks from Asher to me, searching for some explanation. My gaze flashes to the display case in the corner of the living room containing the Grammy Awards. Noticing my gesture, she turns, walking toward it. When she realizes who they belong to, her reaction mirrors what mine was. Mouth falling open, dazed stare, body stiffening. You're in fallen grace, she all but shrieks, whirling around. Certainly not. A low chuckle rumbles through him. They're not really my style. With an unaffected attitude I find attractive, considering most men in his position would probably brag about their good fortune. Asher recounts the story of how he came to form a partnership with one of the most successful music acts in the world today, demonstrating the same humility he always exhibited toward everything. It goes to show that sometimes good things happen when we least expect it. He remarks thoughtfully once he finishes telling Chloe the story he relayed to me last night, or this morning. Heat washes over my face, and I lift my eyes to find the source. Has he always looked at me this way? Have his nostrils always flared as his gaze rakes over my body? Have his pupils always dilated with hunger as he steals a glimpse of my cleavage? Has this electricity always existed? I felt it that night all those years ago. But with the passing of time, I convinced myself I imagined it, but I felt it last night too. Maybe he acts this way around all women. Maybe he's behaving like this because he's been stuck in a house with a boy band for God knows how long, and I'm the first relatively attractive female he's seen in ages. The reasons for his unabashed admiration of my body don't matter. All that does is that I've been given the gift of spending another day with him. Maybe Chloe's right. Maybe I need to stop worrying about the potential ramifications and just let the cards fall where they may. So, Asher clears his throat, looking away. What can I get you to drink? I exhale. A drink is exactly what I need to help settle these nervous butterflies flitting in my stomach. Once we all have a beer in hand, he grabs the plate of burgers and leads us toward the open French doors. As I follow behind him, I can't help but admire his long, toned legs, the way his plaid swim trunks fall from his hips, the faint outline of more tattoos underneath his white, linen shirt. Lincoln, he calls out once we emerge onto the pergola-covered patio, forcing me out of my thoughts. Get off your phone and be social. He lowers his voice, addressing us. He'll be done soon. I hope. He sets the plate on a table beside the grill. I inhale the charcoal aroma, the combination of the smell and being here with Asher reminiscent of the summers at Graham's lake house. Now if only she were here, regaling us with yet another one of her outrageous stories. My heart would be full. Then again, it's best she's not. She'd probably force us all to do paddleboard yoga in the pool, or she'd go skinny dipping. Grams was never shy about the naked form, which served to embarrass Jessie and make Asher laugh. Who's he? Chloe asks. Her eyes flame, presumably over the idea of one of the band members being here. Lincoln Moore, he explains as he places the burgers onto the grill, which causes my stomach to growl. My mouth salivates in anticipation of what I know will be one hell of a burger. We went to college together. In fact, he was a workaholic back then, too, constantly studying. He was one of those guys who lived according to the motto, work hard, play hard. I like to think that now it's work hard, play even harder, a deep voice says, and I look in its direction, sucking in a sharp inhale of air when I see the figure approaching Chloe from behind. I may have been a few yards away, but I'd be able to pick out the man who had my best friend in a passionate embrace in the hotel from a lineup. The mysterious, deep-set eyes with swirls of caramel and gold, the full lips that quirk up in amusement, and the tall, muscular physique that easily has a foot over Chloe. She was right. They appear to be as opposite as you can get, but does that matter? Unable to move, Chloe stares at me with wide eyes, as if waiting for me to confirm that her suspicions are correct, that the enthralling voice belongs to the man she thinks it does. This day just got much more interesting. Chloe, Izzy. Asher begins, oblivious to the growing tension sizzling in the air. This is my friend, Lincoln. Lincoln. This is Izzy and Dick girl. Lincoln finishes, stepping in front of Chloe, his gaze glued to her. Dick girl Asher furrows his brow, his stare ping-ponging between them. If Chloe hadn't told me about his nickname for her, I'd be just as confused. Do you two know each other? We've had the pleasure. I notice a shiver roll through Chloe's body, a strange response for someone who normally has no reaction to the opposite sex. Or perhaps I should say I've had the pleasure of experiencing her sharp tongue. Damn. Now I can see what has Chloe acting so out of character. This guy is as smooth as a 20-year-old Scotch, and seemingly just as mature, which is what she needs. Yes. She holds her head high, thrusting her hand out toward him in a manner you'd expect to find in a business meeting. Not a chance encounter between two people with off-the-charts chemistry. It's nice to see you again. To formally meet you. Lincoln. He takes her hand in his. Instead of shaking it, he brings it to his lips, not peeling his eyes off hers as he places a soft kiss on the skin. Likewise, Chloe. I didn't think we'd see each other again. Either did I. Funny how that keeps happening, isn't it? How we keep bumping into each other. If I didn't know any better, I'd think something wants us to keep seeing each other. I feel the heat of Asher's breath on my neck, followed by that low, husky voice. I could say the same about you. I turn to face him, the hair on my nape standing on end when I see the unyielding desire in his eyes. I bring my beer to my lips, taking a long sip. Is that so? He slowly nods. That's so. His expression changes, this one more curious than needy. He closes the distance between us. Why do you think that is? I don't know. I answer honestly, my chest rising and falling in a quicker rhythm. Me either. But a part of me wants to find out. And the other part I barely manage to squeak out is so fucking torn. He rakes his hand through his hair, retreating into himself, just as he did on more than one occasion last night. Me too.